Is Rockies GM Bill Schmidt still on the hot seat if the Rockies have a really good trade deadline? They had a pretty good draft, so does that mean anything about the future of the GM position? We're talking about that, including some more trade conversations, all coming up next on the DNVR Rockies podcast. What's up, everyone? It is another beautiful day to talk about some baseball here on the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app, use code DNVR365, place a bet for $5 and get $150 back in bonus bets. That's good advice for everyone at home, not named Emmanuel Clase. What's up, everyone? Welcome into the show. Got a good show for you guys today. We've got a lot to talk about. We've got some updated trade conversations, some trade rumors to talk about. We obviously, as the headline suggests, are going to have the conversation on what a good trade deadline means for the future of the Colorado Rockies, not just as a team, but also as an organization. And some breaking news that was happening across baseball, the national baseball world as well. We got a lot to talk about. Welcome onto the show. Last show on Friday was a bit of a chaos show. We traded Ryan McMahon, and you and I were both sitting here reacting to it live.
Yeah, it was great to react to a Rockies trade because when you're like scrolling over there, I'm trying to talk, filibuster, and I'm like, dude, he's going to hit me with like some AAA guy got traded for another AAA guy in the AL West. Yeah. And then you said Ryan McMahon, and I immediately was like, they did it. They did something. And shout out to Ryan McMahon. I know we definitely talked him up all year and had a good weekend with the Yankees, had a couple Gold Glove level plays already. Yeah. Big two-run double yesterday to win them the game, essentially, when it was all said and done. So very happy for Ryan McMahon. And just some of the things I saw from people, I don't understand. The people that were mad about them trading Ryan McMahon was insane.
Like Rockies fans?
Yes,
mad?
like they were, like, I understand if you want to be mad about what we got back. Like, let's say it's not enough, which it was plenty. Believe me, if those players are where they're rated, we'll never know what they're going to be at the pro level, but we know what they are now. And where they're rated, they were enough for what Ryan McMahon is. But the people that were like, oh, now the Rockies are going to get worse, or they're
trading their best player, their only good player.
Yeah, exactly. Like, what are you talking about?
It was a perfect example. If you read through the comments on any of the breaking news tweets when Rymac got traded, it was a perfect, display of the amount of casual Rockies fans that haven't watched a single game all year and see that the only player they even remotely know just got traded and said, oh, well, that's classic Rockies, right? You're trading your only player that anyone even knows. Like, what are you doing?
And the guy who hit a home run on Ryan Night, that's probably the most popular moment of the year, positively for him.
And look, I've said it all the time. Like, I'm not going to blame the casual Rockies fans for being pissed, right? We're pissed too. Like, the Rockies suck. There's plenty to be upset about this season with the Rockies and the last 6 seasons, if we're being completely honest about ourselves. But at the same time, if you know anything and you follow the Rockies, you follow baseball, and you know anything about that move, it was a good move on paper, right? It needed to happen. The Rockies needed to move on from Ryan McMahon. We wish him the best. If the Yankees are playing for a World Series, or even when they're in the playoffs, we will be rooting for Ryan McMahon to succeed and to go out and get a ring. So, all the best wishes for Ryan McMahon. The Rockies did what they needed to do, and hopefully that was just the start. We're going to talk a lot about, some of the trade rumors. There's a couple more names that have gotten thrown out there for the Rockies as possible trade pieces that we got to talk about. But I want to start by talking about the headline of this show, which is I've heard a couple people over the last, really few weeks since the draft happened. I've had a couple people reach out to me, or at least talk to me in conversation and say, does this draft and now this trade deadline, if the Rockies make good moves over the next couple weeks and the last month, does that take Rockies GM Bill Schmidt off the hot seat. And we all know that, we've said it before on this show. It feels like Bill Schmidt's kind of a dead man walking, right? He's just waiting until the end of this year, most likely, to retire quietly and go off into the sunset. But I think there's some people who are starting to feel like, hey, the Rockies had a great draft, and so far they've had a good trade deadline. Does this mean things are going to change? Does this mean that Bill Schmidt is going to keep his job? Now, I can't sit here and give you a definitive answer, but I know my take on this. I'll get your take first. Do you think that would be the right move?
It's like, all right, I'm going to relate it to real life here. If your mom tells you to clean your room 3 straight times and you finally clean it at like 9 p.m. when she asks you to clean it at 8 a.m., she's still going to be pissed at you, right? Yeah. And you still didn't do what you were supposed to do the time you were asked. The trading of Ryan McMahon should have happened multiple different times. It finally did, so at least it happened for us Rockies fans, and maybe these 2 prospects will turn into something in the next couple of years. It's going to be fun to watch them come up and add some juice to the Rockies prospect pool and have some excitement for more guys. And to be honest, like, you can't discredit him for the draft. You can credit him, but it's also the perfect scenario fell into his lap.
Sure.
And he just made the right decision.
And the GM is just a part of a draft, right? The scouts, the player development, like, there's other pieces involved in all of that.
Yeah, there's just too much evidence of Bill Schmidt not cleaning his room the last 3 years, and all the dirt in the 78 losses and the 100+ losses the last 2 years that just tell me he should be grounded and fired.
Yeah, so another perfect example that comes to my mind after your metaphor you just used. Like, if you're building a home and you do a terrible job laying the foundation is cracked, you don't fill it in all the way. You're putting up the support beams, and your support beams are built with bamboo, and you're just like, everything's just completely crap. The house is the worst house ever built, but at the last second you put on a really good outside of the house. You paint it really well and it looks really good from the outside. Well, the house is still shit, right? Like, the interior, the foundation of the house is still really poor, and you shouldn't be building houses anymore, right? Like, that's the example that comes to mind, is that, like, the team itself is still the worst team in the history of baseball, on pace to be the worst team in the history of baseball. So yes, we can credit Bill Schmidt for, as of now, having a good singular trade that was made on paper with Ryan McMahon, a good draft. And I'll even go a step further than that. He's made a couple good moves in the offseason coming into 2025 by getting Tyler Freeman for Nolan Jones, picking up Mickey Moniak, right? Like, there's been a couple moves that you're like, okay, that's pretty good. But in no way should this, balance out the fact that the Rockies, that he has built the worst roster on paper ever assembled in the history of baseball. I mean, the Rockies are still on pace to be the worst team in the history of baseball. And I saw one of the first comments in the Toyota chat. I don't remember who it was, but was saying that the Rockies would have to go get, Paul Skenes or Shohei Ohtani. Bill Schmidt would have to make a move like that. Yeah, it was just Joshin that said, you have to have a name like that come into the Rockies if there was any conversation for Bill Schmidt keeping his job. And so I agree. I don't think it's going to change anything. Now, could it change things? I don't know. I mean, this is Dick Monfort we're talking about. Who knows? Bill Schmidt could still have his job in 6 months, and you and I are sitting here again kind of trying to figure out what the heck the Rockies are doing. But from my perspective, it really doesn't change anything because the foundation of the team is 100% still the same.
Yeah, he's like a fart in a closed elevator, technically present, but no one wants to acknowledge it.
Sure. We'll go with that.
Shout out Lefty for the great comment there.
Yeah, I love it. So I wanted to just touch on that real fast, just because I've heard a couple people say that, and I'm like, all right, I get it, but we'll pump the brakes here a little bit. Moving on though, we got to update our Untouchables list, because according to Mark Feinsand, the Rockies have put one player on the untouchable list for this trade deadline, and that is Ezequiel Tovar. Now, the writing was on the wall about that, but we've all had this conversation on the show about, the players that we think should be untouchable. We'd put Hunter Goodman in that category. Chase Dolander was kind of in that category for us as well. You just got to develop him a little bit more, give him some more time. But it turns out Tovar is officially the only untouchable for the Rockies. So that means the Rockies, at least on paper, are willing to pick up the phone for literally anyone. And also, according to Mark Feinsand, this is a quote taken out of Thomas Harding's article where he was quoting Mark Feinsand. Teams have made runs at Doyle and Goodman, but nothing has caught the Rockies' fancy on either so far. That was a little bit surprising to me. The fact that the Rockies are, I mean, as at least from this, answering the phone on Hunter Goodman, Brenton Doyle, players that we thought that they would not be willing to even have conversations about. So is there a world in which you think Hunter Goodman and Doyle or players that we normally thought were untouchable, is there a world in which the Rockies make another shocking trade this year, or do you think they play it safe?
I think judging by all of the past and all the information that we've gathered from this team and this front office the past 3 years, I would be shocked if they made another move, especially for a player like a Hunter Goodman or Brenton Doyle. Most likely going to be another bullpen arm. They've shown that they can move those for prospects, which we would be fine with. But I think what this signals to me is we don't really know how trade deadline. We never will know all the conversations that are had. Past trade deadlines, you know, there was a little bit that leaked afterwards that Elias Diaz, who we all thought should be traded last year, did not have any interest. So we kind of backed off the mob on Bill Schmidt on that one singular move, because there's no interest. You don't want to literally just trade him to trade him. If there's no interest, there's no interest. And if Rockies, even like Brenton Doyle, who's struggling this year, you know, on and off the field, unfortunately, if he's generating interest from other teams, it's nice to know that the Rockies are at least listening. And it's nice to know, in my eyes, that they also turned something down, because that tells me that they're at least trying to make an effort to still get better players, even though they're trading away, if it was a Goodman or a Doyle, two players that you would think would be the future of this team. And I know Doyle's had a bad year. Purple Kool-Aid says that, his age and inconsistency, but he, at his highest level, Brenton Doyle's a very, very elite defensive player, obviously, and then can be good offensively, and he's shown that at Coors Field. So, and super young, came up in the system like one of the guys we were excited for. And that's the thing that I'm going to stay true on this whole trade deadline. We'll be on a trade deadline show Thursday. Yeah. Join us for that. We'll be hopefully talking about some more live. We just happened to get lucky last week, but this week we're hoping for some actual like expected. He's going to be scrolling the Twitter machine and we're going to be reacting to it. But you can't keep trading. Like, to me, Brenton Doyle is semi a prospect still. And same with kind of Hunter Goodman. Same
with Toglia, by the way.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep trading our prospects for more prospects. Like, we don't have enough. Like, you want to trade the Kyle Farmers, no value. You want to trade the Jimmy Hergets or guys like that.
Jake Bird.
Yeah, the Jake Birds, fine. But we want to stack the prospect deck. And those guys are still kind of there, because while, yes, Hunter Goodman, friend of the show, he was on, a couple weeks ago, and it was awesome to talk to him from Fenway's dugout. He's had a great season. He's an all-star at catcher. He's hitting a bunch of home runs. He's hitting third in the lineup. But we've seen this now 3 years in a row. The whole time you've kind of been doing the Rockies show and following the Rockies, we've had the Nolan Jones breakout season, and then he turns into dust. And then the Brenton Doyle breakout season, and now he's bad. So
Toglia.
Yeah, we can't trust any of these guys, that the fact that they're just going to be good now because they've had one good season, or on the other side of that coin, that they're just going to be bad next year because they had one good season and it was a flash in the pan. So these guys are still relative unknowns to me, and I don't want to trade an unknown that we at least have an idea about for another unknown that we have no idea about and won't find out for 3-4 years down the road.
And it's you're pretty much betting on the fact that Doyle is going to figure it out at some point, because like you said, the upside is there. You know what he can be. He's a 2-time Gold Glover, and he is a serviceable bat when he's, figuring it out. He's just, this year has been really tough for him. But two other names I wanted to throw out there, because you talk about wanting to stack the deck with a bunch of prospects, but at the same time, you also have to have some vets, some guys who've been here, especially at Coors Field, who know what they're doing. There's two names that have come up that according to Mark Feinsand, are drawing interest in trade conversations with the Rockies. Kyle Freeland and Austin Gomber both have gone on record saying that they are other teams are drawing interest on Kyle Freeland and Austin Gomber. Gomber, we're all in the same boat. We'd be fine letting Gomber walk. What about Kyle Freeland? Because we haven't talked a lot about if Freeland is a trade piece? What happens if the Rockies were to trade Kyle Freeland? Is he a guy that you want to keep on your roster to be like a veteran pitcher one day? Like, what do we think about Kyle Freeland staying with the Rockies?
Well, if Kyle Freeland gets dealt, we're gonna lose both Mr. Rockies. Because like in baseball, I see it as like you got your pitcher, Mr. Rocky, and you got your batter and fielder, Mr. Rocky.
Sure.
Ryan McMahon was definitely that in the field. Now we got to find a new one. And Kyle Freeland's definitely that as a pitcher. Almost threw a no-hitter at Coors Field. Got Cy Young votes a couple of years ago. Like this guy's been really good in a Rockies uniform, on the Rockies curve, graded. Yeah. I would be really sad to see Kyle Freeland go, but I'd be more sad than I was with Ryan McMahon, but I'd even be that much more invested in him moving forward for another team that has a chance to be in the playoffs again, because I think he deserves that.
He's one of the most intense pitchers too, and I'm not talking stuff-wise. I mean, just his mindset. I mean, how bad he was. What was it, the first game of the Orioles series? Was that the game he gave up 4 solo home runs? Yeah. And
then he just fights through and gets 5 innings and they end up winning the game.
Exactly.
Like that, he has the biggest dog.
He's a dog. Yeah. He is an absolute dog. Like I love watching Kyle Freeland pitch, especially in a year where it feels like the Rockies roll over more often than not. So when you see a guy go out there and pitch as if this was a team fighting for a playoff spot, as a fan, you're just like, I appreciate that. Like, I respect that. So I agree. I think Kyle Freeland would be a guy that I wouldn't personally want to see traded, but if it betters the team, then I don't care, right? I mean, we all know this is a long game. This isn't something that I'm we hate seeing Rymack leave, but at the same point, we all understand. We get it. We're like, okay, this makes sense. Herman is another name that, has been tossed around. Herman got kind of banged up a little bit, a few days ago. I don't trust the Rockies to go and get anything for Herman. And maybe that's not the Rockies' fault. Maybe Herman is another one of those situations where, like we had with Elias Diaz, where you just, we're all sitting here saying, you got to trade Herman, but maybe they just don't get any calls at the right value for Herman. So I don't think Herman's going to end up getting moved.
No, and I think we've talked about maybe jumping on some trades earlier, and even the Rymack deal is a week before the deadline. But Herman would have been a guy that his value has peaked this year and is already back on the downslope. Now, it's not saying it could get, higher again, and he could be decent in August, September for the Rockies, but his value peaked after those 3 or 4 starts where he was looking really good, had a lot of strikeouts, and now he's had a couple bad starts followed by an injury. And after Thursday at 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, whatever time it is, our time, it's irrelevant how good or bad he is in his trade value going forward the rest of the season. So he kind of peaked trade value wise, and now is heading back in the wrong direction of that. So I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get moved.
It's the way it goes. That's the way it goes. We got to take our first break of the show. But after the break, we got to talk about Michael Toglia. I mean, we've already had the conversation, but we have to have the conversation again because, unfortunately, Michael Toglia is going in the wrong direction. What do the Rockies do with Michael Toglia? What can they do with Michael Toglia? We'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Want to give some love to our friends right now over at Cake Mortgage, because Cake Mortgage does this really cool thing. They have this really cool thing called a debt service coverage ratio, and that's a really fancy way of basically designing mortgage loans for people who want to invest in real estate, who don't have traditional incomes. And I've talked about it a little bit on the show. If you're a friend of this podcast, you've been watching for a while. If you're trying to get into real estate investing, it could be really challenging because a lot of times you have varied incomes. You don't have the traditional 9 to 5 that banks like to see when they go and approve you for a nice mortgage. And so with Cake Mortgage, they basically, they get really fancy and they allow you to get approved for a home loan so that even if you don't have traditional incomes, even if you have 50 different types of incomes and banks don't like that, Cake Mortgage allows you to get approved for a home loan so that you can go invest in real estate and you can go really start making some money. And so Cake Mortgage is incredible. They really help people who are getting into real estate investing, self-employed credit-worthy borrowers, or anyone who wants to scale a rental portfolio without W-2s or tax returns. So if you've always dreamed about owning income property, or if you're building your real estate legacy, call 1-800-EAT-CAKE or head to the link in the description, because life is better with Cake. Again, head to that link in the description to get started. That's Cake Mortgage Corporation, equal housing lender, NMLS number 1734623, licensed in Colorado by the Division of Real Estate. Terms and conditions apply. Also got to give some love to our friends over at Shady Rays, because We at the DNVR Rockies podcast love to view things through our Shady Rays purple tinted glasses. And Shady Rays has so many different styles in your team's favorite colors. So, when we sit here on the show talking about how good the Rockies are going to be here in the next year or so, we might be looking through purple tinted glasses. There are purple tinted Shady Rays. When we're actually going to be at the Friday Rooftop Club this Friday watching the Rockies, I'll have my nice Rockies designed Shady Rays. Shady Rays has so many cool designs. They've also got polarized sunglasses. So if you're like me, you like to go outside, you like to go fishing, do some things out in nature. Polarized sunglasses are great for protecting your eyes, and really they look good. So there's nothing wrong with that. And we've got a deal exclusively for our listeners. Shady Rays is giving out their best deals of the season. Head to shadyrays.com, use code DNVR for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
I won my golf tournament this weekend wearing my Shady Rays Green Wolf glasses.
For a moment, can we go away from baseball for just like 5 seconds? What was your final? What was your final score in your golf tournament that you shot?
We were 18 under par in 3 days.
That's insane.
It was incredible.
That's. Is that has to be one of your top rounds of golf you've ever played in your life?
Easily for a two-person team over 3 different days. Like our goal was to try to shoot 12 or 13 under par, and we shot 18.
Crazy.
So it was fun.
That is electric. So congratulations,
Thank
by
you.
the way. I did when we had our scramble. What was the midsummer scramble? That's what it was. I wore my Rockies shirt. In theory, hoping to score as low as possible in typical Rockies fashion. So I was trying to keep it with the Rockies theme. But Michael Toglia, big name Michael Toglia, man. We thought he was going to have such a good year this year. I went on record numerous times. We had him on the show and, went out and said Michael Toglia is going to be a 30-plus home run guy this year. He's going to be in a conversation for a Gold Glove. Like, all of the stars felt like they were aligning with this being a breakout season for Michael Toglia. And now we're sitting here in late July of 2025, having the conversation of, what can you do with Michael Toglia? What options do the Rockies even have? Do you DFA him? Do you send him back down to AAA and hope he figures it out? Is this a fatal flaw that we will never be able to overcome? Like I don't know the answer, but what's the solution with Michael Toglia?
I feel like maybe you try to send him down one more time and get him maybe some more at bats at AAA, because right now he's not only is he could be a DFA potential, but he's also not getting enough at bats up at the major league level. You don't trust him enough to put him in the lineup to get those major league at bats, and that's doing him the least good. Mm-hmm. Getting the less at bats he gets, I think, there's times, and we've talked to Warren Schaefer about it. He's been very open about how giving his players time off, time to rest, like especially with Hunter Goodman when we freak out and crash out about the lineups that he's not in it again. He's been very steadfast in the idea of giving guys the day off, especially when they're struggling, maybe 2 days off, back-to-back days with a day where they're not playing and then a day where they're out of the lineup and then a day where they're playing their actual field position or DHing that day. And Toglia just seems like a guy that you thought was semi-fixed. And it turns out they just put some cheap duct tape on him down at AAA, and he came back up, and it held on for 5 to 6 games, and now it's kind of ripping apart again. And it's unfortunate to see, because we did think this was the future first baseman of a team that would compete in 3 to 4 years, and it just doesn't look like it's shaping up that way. And to be fair to you, like we're pro Rockies podcast. We want them to be good. It makes our jobs way better, and we want the players to have some optimism around the players. But other than Hunter Goodman, at the plate this year, not a single Rocky would be even within 75% of a cool prediction. Like not even a hot take, just like a mediocre prediction from the start of this year. Offensively, zero. Everybody other than Hunter Goodman has not even come close to those predictions.
And Tyler Freeman, it went above what we would have ever expected, right? Like none of us would have predicted our breakout player in 2025 to be Tyler Freeman. So yeah, true. The Rockies were prediction busters. Hank was texting us the other day because you and Hank put an uncomfortable amount of money on the Rockies to, hit the over on wins this year. And, what was it, 27? They need 27 wins or something like that.
They need to finish 32 and 27.
Yeah, that's what it was. 32 and 27 for the remainder of the season is crazy. There's absolutely zero way. But I'm of the boat. Well, first of all, with Michael Toglia, you don't have a lot of options. For those of you who say you got to trade Michael Toglia, to who? I mean, who wants to take 40% K rate with under 40 home runs, right? I mean, if you're going to have a 40% K rate, you better be hitting a home run every single time you touch the baseball, because it's either a strikeout or a home run. And that's just not what Michael Toglia is right now. So he's not a trade piece at this point. You're probably not DFAing him just because I mean, he's young enough that you still have some time to try to hope that he figures it out. But so with that being said, I think the best case scenario is, you just send him back down to AAA. I mean, you have to hope that this offseason, you pretty much say, okay, we'll give you one more offseason to see if you can figure this out. We send you down to AAA, maybe for the remainder of the season, get you more at-bats, maybe start seeing putting other options in at first base. I mean, hell, Kyle Karros played first base the other day. I think it was yesterday, actually. So the Rockies are starting to see what other options they have at first base.
They literally started warming Bernabeu there. Not really a first baseman. That's why I texted you guys on Friday or Saturday. I was like, is that normal? Like, does he play there? Because that would be a kind of solution, because we've seen Orlando Arcia, who's an 11-year MLB vet, starts at first base when he's never played first base in his life. So that right now, first base has become that giant black hole that it was right after Helton left, and then we had some spots of some more no's and guys like that came in, and then you're just trying the Daniel Murphys, and you're trying anyone and everyone to play first base, and then Toglia comes up, and you're like, end of 2024, end of 2024, we're like, oh, we got a first baseman and a decent glove. Like, no, he's no Helton, but no one really is. And you thought that maybe there was a chance that was the guy that you're going to look at going forward and say, hey, we can pencil him in at 5 or 6, maybe even 4 in the lineup, and he'll play first base for us 150 plus games a year.
He was your power hitter. I mean, he was the guy that you were expecting to get 35, 40 home runs in a season and be like, all right, he might have a high strikeout ratio, but he's hitting bombs, and that feels pretty good to see. But I don't have faith at this point, and I'd love to say that I do, but I mean, it's just so bad that it's hard to have confidence that he's going to be able to go above this. And I was seeing some of the comments on Twitter and stuff, and I filter through a lot of it, but one of the guys we quote on this show a lot, Luke Hall, Oak Tree status, I think, on Twitter, like he had talked about some of the stats behind it, and sending Michael Toglia down to AAA and what it looks like, bringing him back. And basically the consensus is that, like, this isn't just like he's having an off season. It feels like this is kind of a fatal flaw that's just progressing, right? And that's the nervous part of all of this. So I agree with Scott in the chat. When Ritter comes back, I do think you send Michael Toglia down. You give him this offseason. You say, all right, you kind of have an ultimatum. You got to figure this out in the offseason. We'll give you a little bit of next year to see if you can, get back on the horse. If you can't, that's it. Then you DFA him and you move on. So
and Drew's comment's interesting too, because he says part of the problem is they don't really have a first baseman besides Bernabeu, who's a rookie. Mm-hmm. And the thing with that is right now, I would imagine most of the front office, obviously they're not trying to rush Charlie Condon, and they're not going to do that. And I hope they don't.
Sure.
But that's the guy. And it's going to be maybe another full year of just randomly starting a dude at first base every 5 games and hope his bat gets hot and hope that he doesn't play the worst defense ever. But at the same time, I think Charlie Condon is going to, the more this continues to be a black hole at first base at the major league level for the Rockies, the more they're going to push Condon to playing first base and be like, hey, dude, and maybe it's a conversation with him, or it's a conversation with the coaches at AA where he's at, of like, hey, this is where you're going to get up here the fastest. And
it is.
It's not sitting here saying we have this great outfield or this great infield, and you're just
great
not
third base now.
Great,
I mean,
we're not like,
there's holes.
We're not so stacked with prospects and players at the major league level that you can't just break in. But that is the quickest way up the mountain for Charlie Condon is become a decent fielding first baseman, and your bat plays at Coors and should play in the major leagues as long as he continues to progress on the same level that he's progressing now that he's healthy.
Yeah.
And so I think that's huge in that. Yes, it sucks because we can sit here and say that all of 2026, they're probably just going to play or sign some random veteran to play first base and maybe hope he's good defensively and is like Kyle Farmer at the plate, which is not great, but it's there. Yeah. It's a player. It's a warm body. But that's really, 2027 going into training camp and spring training is Charlie Condon first base.
Yeah.
The future. And then we have this conversation again. And then we hope that in July of 27, we're not having this conversation again if he should be DFA'd.
I know. I have talked to some of the other Rockies media members, that have been around a lot longer than both of us have. And, they kind of feel the same way, right? And because the other part of it is that the clock's ticking on Michael Toglia. He's not 22 years old. If this was happening to, for example, Charlie Condon, let's say the Rockies called up Charlie Condon, like Jack Caglianone, and he was struggling. He's, 24 years old, right? Like he's got plenty of time to figure it out. Same thing with Tovar. If this was happening to Tovar, even Doyle is kind of in that boat. But, with Toglia and how bad it looks with Toglia, he's not young enough where you trust that this is going, you've got, 7 years to figure this out. It's like, no, you should be hitting your stride right now. You need to be in your prime in the next couple years, and he's not heading in the right direction. So it's an unfortunate situation, but that is the reality we are in right now as Rockies fans in 2025. So that's the way it goes. Hey, we got a couple things to talk about coming up in the next few days. The Rockies get to go up against Paul Skenes on Saturday. That's going to be
should be fun for us.
Should be very fun.
Over
for
under bet 365, 12 strikeouts for him.
And I also, we got to talk about this upcoming 2027 season, because there have been some conversations that have happened in Major League Baseball, specifically between Bryce Harper and Rob Manfred, that have me concerned about whether or not there will be baseball in 2027. So we're going to take a quick break. After the break, we will we'll touch on both those topics. Well, if you are looking to replace your floors, it's a project no one really wants to do, but it's a project that has to be done sometimes. Empire Today, you got to go check them out. They are incredible friends of the show, incredible friends of us here at DNVR. They've replaced all of our floors across all of our studios, across all of our markets, not just here in Denver, but like in Dallas and, Phoenix and Philly. All of our markets, they do an incredible job. And they can help you guys out as well. If you're doing your home projects for the summer and you're trying to get those floors replaced, maybe it's something that your wife has been bugging you about for a long time, because my wife did when we were getting our floors replaced, and you finally want to take care of it. Well, I can get you pointed in the right direction. Empire Today, they do incredible work. Their customer service is top notch. They get great quality floors. Their installation is the best of the best. You cannot go wrong with Empire Today. So schedule a free in-home estimate, because some things are just better at home. DNVR listeners can receive $350 off when you use promo code DNVR. That is right. It is $350 discount with code DNVR. Restrictions apply. Visit EmpireToday/DNVR for full details.
I am going to use this Empire Today discount because, hopefully, fingers crossed here, we got an offer accepted on a house. So we're supposed to close mid-August, and this house does not have a basement, which is one of my needs. It has a 4-car garage.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
After the spot where 2 cars are going to park is my now man cave. And so I'm going to go to Empire and I'm going to say, hey, floored half of this.
Floor.
And I'm going to put, rug down. I'm going to put the bar in there, TV in there, all that stuff. So I'm going to have Empire Today set my flooring up for my man cave, which is going to be electric.
Well, a 4-car garage is perfect for this next read that I'm about to do, because we got to give some love to our friends over at Toyota. Toyota, if you're going to have a 4-car garage and you got to stack that garage with some cars, Toyota's the way to go. I know you have your Toyota Tundra. I have my Toyota Highlander. I'm in the process of getting on board with a new Toyota. I actually just test drove the RAV4, which is a car that I've been eyeing for a while, and it's a smooth ride, man. You really can't go wrong. So yeah, if you're gonna have a 4-car garage, your Tundra takes up at least 2 of those slots. It's a hefty car.
Yeah, it's gonna be
a truck, I should say.
It's gonna be a tight fit in there, even in a 4-car garage. Just like getting in the garage door is gonna be. I'm gonna be doing some testing, making sure I'm not gonna run into my own garage door, but. Yeah, my Tundra will be right there next to my man cave, floored by Empire Today.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's a good combo. It's a good combo. So if you're in the market to get a new car, Toyota has tons of options. They got great trucks, hybrids, SUVs, all the good stuff. So visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. All right, Rockies, by the way, to answer the question by Lux in the chat, Rockies, in all likelihood, can't confirm, but he is the predicted or projected pitcher to face the Rockies on Saturday. So Saturday game, it's not going to be for our Friday Rooftop Club, which is a bummer. But he is going to, as of now, be pitching against the Rockies on Saturday. That's going to be impressive to watch. We've got to place some bets on how that goes. Because how many innings do you think Paul Skenes goes against the Colorado Rockies if he pitches on Saturday?
Well, the problem with this is I'm so jaded because of old Rockies teams that even when they were bad, they would still hit a lot.
Yeah.
And guys like Kershaw would come in here and get blown up.
Sure.
Or guys that haven't played at Coors Field ever, this will be the first start for Paul Skenes. Like something inside me is like, hey, maybe the Rockies can put up a 7 spot on them. Yeah. Then I look at our lineup. Then I look at what we do every single night for 162 games a year and think, I mean, he's gonna go at least 5 or 6.
It'll be at least a quality start.
Yeah, and he's going to strike out at least 10 guys in 5 innings.
Okay.
I'm pretty
I think that's generous. I think that's, I mean, I would go even more than that. I'd say I think he goes up to 12 strikeouts, and I think he goes like 7, 8.
The Bet365 app will let us go up 15, 16. Like
you're not wrong, man.
Bet the odds up.
It's going to be insane to watch. And Scott's right in the chat. He did pitch at Air Force. I forget that he pitched at Air Force before he went to LSU. How many hits do you think the Rockies get against Skenes? Let's just say the Pirates don't want to overdo it. They go 7 innings. He goes 7 innings, doesn't give up a run. We'll just say he goes 11 Ks. How many hits do you think the Rockies get?
Well, even though I get shit for this on Twitter, he's going to give up 2 worthless hits, meaning probably the first inning, let's say. The first inning, Jordan Beck's hitting third. He's going to hit an infield single that means nothing because the next guy's going to strike out. And it'll be, I think, 2 hits. I think I would confidently say that.
If the Rockies win against Paul Skenes, let's say the Rockies get the win against Paul Skenes, and I also want to preface this by saying it's not one of those like Pirates wins, where like, oh, the Rockies score 1 run and the Pirates just don't score. Like that. Skenes has a ton of losses this year that have been not his fault, where he's given up, let's just say, 2 runs through 8 innings, and the Pirates didn't score anything to help him out. If the Rockies actually earn a victory against Paul Skenes, we've got to do something. We have to do something.
Yeah, we might need to throw an after party at the DNVR bar.
Emergency pod.
Saturday night emergency pod.
I might have to shave my head. That's
Should we do it? Should we make the bet?
I don't know about shave my head.
Let's go.
I shouldn't have thrown that one out there.
Yeah, that was aggressive. I'm going to hold you to that.
I'll get a mullet.
No, okay, that or you shave your whole mustache and your goatee.
I'll get a mullet. I'm going with a mullet.
Okay.
I'm keeping the goatee, but I'll go.
Sides have to go low like mine are.
Okay.
Full, like I'll even do it for you. You don't want that, but I do my own hair for the record.
Okay.
But yes, okay. Rockies win.
Against Paul Skenes on Saturday.
It says Skenes L.
Yeah.
Next to the game notes on that game on Saturday, you're going full mullet.
All right. You heard it here. I don't know if my wife will still love me after that, but we'll go for it.
Well, you can just blame it on me, and then you're out, and she'll just be like,
she'll kill you. By the way, she would actually kill you. That'll be fun to watch, though. I'm excited to see Paul Skenes pitch against the Colorado Rockies. That could be a good pitching matchup to watch. But we got to talk about this 2027 situation because I saw you guys were chatting about it in the Toyota chat there just a second ago. Did you see what Bryce Harper said to Rob Manfred?
I did not. Hear any of this.
Okay, so this is news to you. So according to Jeff Passan, he posted an article about this morning. I guess Rob Manfred, he does all these meetings with different teams throughout the year. He does them, I guess, every year. He was doing a meeting with the Phillies. Bryce Harper was sitting in on this meeting. And according to the article, Rob Manfred didn't go out and actually bring up the salary cap, but he was implying a conversation about the salary cap. And what was the direct quote? I think I saw it in the chat, but he basically said, "Get the F out of this clubhouse if you're going to talk about that." Was pretty much the gist of it. So 2026, the end of 2026 is when the MLB, deal basically expires, which is bringing up the conversation about whether or not there's going to be a lockout in 2027. This definitely doesn't instill any confidence. It shows how passionate the players are, and the Players Association obviously is, against this salary cap and or salary floor that Major League Baseball is advocating for. We all know our owner, the Mr. Dick Monfort, is very much in favor of...
First in line on this train.
Yeah, he very much is in favor of the salary cap. So I think this is only going to get worse. I think it's only going to heat up over the next couple years. I'm fully confident that there will be some sort of lockout. I don't know if it's going to be a full season, but I am fully confident that this will not be resolved by 2027.
Yeah, it's kind of scary to think about, to be honest. It's like, it might be good for us mentally, I guess, to not have to watch this.
Should we be looking for a job?
There's a double-edged sword there where we don't have to watch the Rockies play, but there all might not be a reason for us to talk about it if we don't have any baseball.
But also theoretically, I mean, we talked about this on the show on Friday, and we're putting this, we're being conservative about this, but theoretically, the Rockies should be better by 2027, right? You might be seeing Ethan Holiday by 2027. You might be seeing the pitchers we just traded for with Ryan McMahon by 2027. Hopefully Chase Dolander's in his prime by 2027. Condon's hopefully, right? Like 2027 is kind of a big year to see where the direction of the Rockies is headed. Not saying the Rockies are going to the playoffs by 2027, but at least we'll have some answers on some things. So I'd be pretty bummed to have to skip, a year of Ethan Holiday, a year of Charlie Condon, if that's what we're going to be getting by 2027.
Yeah, that just seems like something, it's going to affect all teams, but it would seem like something that would just happen to the Rockies, where they're actually having a year where they've dug out of this, they're still in the hole now. Yeah. They're in the bottom of the hole now. Hopefully by the end of this season and starting next year, they can dig their way out of that hole, but then finally seeing a little sunlight, and then the entire organization and the entire league of the MLB just gets pushed down into this dark hole where nobody's like playing, and we're like, we no Holiday, no Condon, no Tovar again in his prime, or no Hunter Goodman loses a year. Like, that would be terrible, I think, for the Rockies, but it would kind of just make sense with what happens to us as it is. Now.
It really is. Does. Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. Yes, I do think. It's funny because I was seeing in the chat, you guys were saying, Rob Manfred and Dick Monfort, must be close because they're obviously pushing for the same thing. Obviously, both businessmen that are all about making money, right? I do think Rob Manfred considers Dick Monfort an ally in this situation. He was asked, I don't know if you saw this, he was asked on Pardon My Take when Rob Manfred was on. Did you see when he was on?
I need to watch it. My brother's told me like 3 times to listen to it.
It was good. So. It was interesting. I mean, obviously it's PMT, like it's, there's jokes and it's kind of fun, but there was some serious stuff, and you heard some of the stuff that Rob Manfred was talking about. And he was asked about whether or not the league should do anything about teams where owners seemingly don't put their best foot forward, right? And the Rockies are definitely in that conversation.
Did they mention
they didn't?
Dick Monfort?
No, Big Cat literally was like, I'm not going to say names,
but he could have done it.
We know who we're talking about, right? You're talking about the A's, John Fisher. You're talking about Dick Monfort. You can list a couple guys in there, a couple owners in there. Dick Monfort is at the top of some of those lists, and he basically went out, and Rob Manfred went out and said, it's usually not as bad as the fans think it is. Which I think there's some truth to that, to a point, but also that that there's basically more layers to it than what we see, and I just think that was it. It felt, while there's some truth to that, it felt also like he was defending the owners and defending a guy like Dick Monfort, who, like I said, is an ally in these upcoming negotiations, because Dick Monfort wants the exact same thing that Rob Manfred wants. And I think we're going to see more and more of that alignment by some of these owners, especially some of these smaller market owners who want that salary cap as these negotiations go on.
Yeah, and this is going to sound like sour grapes for me, which I'm not going to completely deny that it is or is not, because I'm a Rockies fan and will always be a Rockies fan and want them to have a chance to succeed and play in the playoffs. It is a little silly to me in general that all the other sports have salary caps and they have all of these guys working behind the scenes that, can we make this trade? Can we do this? Can we pay this guy and still keep this guy? Or can we work this guy's contract down low enough to where we can afford to, fill out our roster with these 2 guys? And the fact that baseball is just like a complete dick measuring contest, for lack of a better term, and who has the most money and who can give a player his own suite and his own jet and this and that, and that's where he's going.
Which owner is the richest?
Yeah, and it doesn't always translate to wins, as you see. The Mets haven't won anything in the past couple of years, and they spend like crazy. The Yankees still haven't won a World Series, and they spend like crazy every year. I mean, the Dodgers
aren't untouchable now.
No, they're record-wise a mediocre. They're like not even first in the National League.
They're not the best team in baseball.
Yeah, and they'll get there. But it doesn't necessarily, always help the higher level teams and the teams that spend more. But you can tell it definitely hurts the guys and the teams that don't spend as much. And not everything has to be fair, right? Because like in the NFL world, us as Broncos fans living in Colorado, we now have the richest owners in sports, and look what's happening to us. Now, they can't change the roster that much, but they're building a new facility for the players. They're making themselves a more attractive franchise again after they've had a 10-year bad run. And the Rockies, the only like endearing quality about the Rockies and their in franchise field organization, anything, is that the fact that you get to play at Coors Field, which is a gorgeous park. And if you're a hitter, it helps you a ton. Yeah. And that's literally it. They don't have, we'll pay you more for this or come to this winning organization, because they're not that either. There's so many things that go against them. And like I said, it sounds like I'm sour grapes, and maybe I am. But the fact that every other professional sport has a salary cap, and then all of a sudden you have this one sport where you can just go and spend as much money as you want, like it makes me mad. On the other end, like the Broncos could have every free agent that they wanted the last 3 to 4 years once the Waltons took over, because they have the most money of anyone, and they can outpay everybody. And maybe I wouldn't be as mad about the Rockies salary cap situation if the Broncos could do that. But it just needs to be like, I know all of the 4 sports are different. They have different fan bases. They have different histories, all of this stuff, but every team should be able to spend a certain amount on their roster. That's just kind of basic business in professional sports, and the fact that they don't do it is kind of insane. And I'm going to stand on that. And yes, it helps our team if there is one, for sure. But at the same time, it just makes it more, no matter what team you're a fan of, your owner, pretty much every other team other than like 4 teams in the MLB can say my owner doesn't spend enough. And it has very different meanings from a Rockies to this team, but it's the same concept. Yeah,
and I'm just telling you guys right now, I mean, the fact that a contract like Ohtani, which Austin says Ohtani's contract should be illegal in the chat, the fact that players and agents and everyone involved in that player's life are getting contracts upwards of $1 billion now.
With deferred money.
It'll never change. It will never change. I promise you that, because no matter how much Major League Baseball fights, no matter how much Dick Monfort says a salary cap should be a thing, and I'm not against a salary cap either. I'm just trying to be real here. When people are making billions of dollars in contract money, that will never change, because MLB Players Association is saying, why would we go down if Ohtani can make $700 million in a contract without a salary cap, but with a salary cap, he can only make $150 million. I mean, there's no conversation. They're going to fight for that with every ounce that they have. That's why I think 2027 is going to be a very sketchy year, because I think it's hard. I think Major League Baseball is really fighting for a salary cap, which, good for them. But I also think there's no way MLB Players Association gives any room on that. I think they won't budge at all. So it's going to be an interesting 2026 as we lead up to that. But we got to take our last break of the show, and I see a couple people in the chat asking, are we going to talk about Emmanuel Clase and his gambling situation? Yes, we are. We're going to talk about that coming up next. Well, I want to give some love to our friends right now over at Bet365, which is actually, in theme of everything that's going on right now. And I want to give some love to them because, we as fans are completely able to go and bet on our favorite sports teams. And you guys know, as a part of DNVR and a part of the DNVR Rockies podcast, we have this thing called the Anti-Rockies Parlay. Because if the Rockies are going to lose and if the Rockies are going to be bad, you might as well make some money off of it if you're so inclined. And so get on that Bet365 app. Use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. And what do you got for us today, Spence?
Here's what we've got. We've got the Rockies plus 1.5. So they can lose the game by 1. I'm feeling decent about the Rockies on the road. They won their last series opener, and they've won 3 of their last 5 games. Okay. I know that's very good for where we're at right now.
The 2 losses we won't talk about, but everything else has been good.
Saturday and Sunday at all. So the Rockies plus 1.5 runs. Slade Cassoni, you're much better pronunciation.
I have no idea.
Cecconi. That's the starting pitcher for the Guardians.
Tonight.
6+ strikeouts for him. Rockies strike out a lot. We know that. Steven Kwan has been on an absolute tear. So I have him plus 3+ hits, runs, RBIs. And I have Ezekiel Doyle.
Yeah.
I'm stumbling over my words. Ezekiel Tovar, 3+ hits, runs, and RBIs. He's been cooking a little bit with gas recently.
All right.
That parlay, I am risking $20 to win $930. So it's plus 3,500 on the parlay, and then Bet365 has a 30% profit boost. So getting some really good odds on that. Slade Chisoni, I'm butchering the hell out of that, 6 strikeouts. Rockies to lose by 1 or win the game. Steven Kwan and Ezekiel Tovar, 3+ hits, runs, and RBIs.
Well, like I said, use that code DNVR365 when you sign up. See why it's never ordinary. Bet365 must be 21 or older, physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you're someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Also want to give some love to Chicken and Pickle. That's a new one coming up for us. I know you know a lot about Chicken and Pickle, so I'll let you kind of share the updates. But what's going on with our friends at Chicken and Pickle?
So we have a pickleball tournament this Saturday, 10 a.m. There's a new Chicken and Pickle just being built in...
Greatest name, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It's a great name. They started in Arizona, I believe, or we started working with them in Arizona. And now they've moved to Thornton, Colorado. So there's a location up there. And think Top Golf, but for pickleball. It's not just you
Sport
show
of the
up
future,
to
man.
random courts and play. They have all the courts. They have some indoor, some outdoor, and then you go and they have great drinks, a great bar. I mean, you can go to Chicken and Pickle just to hang out at the bar.
Yeah.
You don't have to play a single, hit. I don't even know, a single set.
I know.
Single
You got to
set.
learn pickleball, man.
Yeah,
We got to get you on board with that.
I did play some pickleball last year. I'm going to play on the tournament this Saturday.
All right.
But yeah, Chicken and Pickle is a great spot. And so we have a tournament there, and we're going to be doing some more events there. It's just like a big kind of open area event center with a great bar, great chicken, obviously, hence the name. And then you just get to play pickleball. So I'm going to pickle before I eat chicken because if I eat,
Pre-pickle. Yeah, for sure.
I can't eat and then do anything athletic.
Gotcha.
It just
That's fair.
makes me feel bad. So I'm gonna pickle on Saturday, and then I'm gonna chicken. So check out the DNVR events and go sign up for our pickleball tournament. That is on Saturday at 10 a.m. in Thornton.
August 2nd, 10 a.m. In Thornton. $29 for an individual, $55 for a team. So yeah, come hang out with us. It'll be fun. You can sign up at thednvr.com/events to reserve your spot. Yeah, we got to talk a little bit about Emmanuel Clase as well as Luis Ortiz. Although there hasn't been any new updates on Ortiz, but the Rockies are getting ready to face the Guardians, and the Guardians are now without 2 pitchers because of MLB's investigation into a gambling scandal. We'll say it. We can call it a scandal,
Yeah,
I guess.
it's a scandal
It's a
at this
scandal
point.
of some sort. It's interesting because there's a lot of different thought processes around this kind of thing. And I've seen a lot of people saying, well, what does MLB expect, right? When you've got Bet365 or insert any gambling sports betting site, when you're partnered with these sports betting sites, what do you expect? It's just part of doing business. But what I'll respond to at least that point of this whole situation is there's still rules involved in this, right? Like if Major League Baseball players are not allowed to gamble. It's cut and dry. There's no gray area. There's no, we can kind of do that. No, if you are a Major League Baseball player or someone who's getting paid in part by Major League Baseball or an organization associated with Major League Baseball, you are not allowed to bet, especially on Major League Baseball games. So sure, yes, Major League Baseball is partnered with these big betting sites, but at the same time, there's no surprise about these rules. So I don't really agree with the people who are saying, well, yeah, they're partnered with, X gambling site, so it shouldn't, they shouldn't be surprised by this kind of stuff. It's like, no, there's still rules. You still have to follow those rules, and no one's being surprised by any of these rules. So it's not an excuse. Now, I'm not saying Emmanuel Clase and Luis Ortiz are guilty as of now. It's an investigation, so nothing has come out of that yet. But the fact that they are being investigated in the first place still leads you to have some concern about the situation and what's happening right now. And it's definitely worth having a conversation about.
Yeah, and we're starting to see this. Obviously, the more legalized gambling gets on sports, the more these scandals and reports are coming out. I mean, we've seen it in the NBA. Michael Porter Jr.'s brother got, banned forever because these guys have actual control. Like if somebody's if it was like the 1980s where you're literally betting on a team -5 and the over under of the game, which is all they had back in the day, that player can affect it, but not really. Now you can bet I mean, like
you can bet on the first pitch of the game, which is what they're being investigated
exactly. I just gave you, Ezekiel Tovar or, 3+ hits, runs, RBIs. Like all he still has to accomplish something, but that's why you're betting unders or you're betting the ball on the first pitch of the game. And these guys have actual control of how this goes out. And they have control over the outcome of games. Mm-hmm. So and a lot of the times
they know that. It's not like this is a surprise.
Right. And a lot of the times it's hilarious to me because these bets are for like hundreds of dollars when these guys are making millions of dollars to throw the first pitch as a strike and not necessarily tell anyone that you're, So it does kind of bother me, but I will say the people out there, like I'm a big gambler. We know that's kind of how we talked about it on the show and whatever. And I love sports betting, and I would be careful to the people that like sports and don't like sports betting that say it should be not a part of the game, because it really does bring a lot more eyeballs to a lot of sports just by having gambling with it. Like, am I saying gambling is good? No, we have to read a disclosure every time we do a gambling read because people have problems, and that's just how life is. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that during the summer, if we're MLB fans and we want, we do this show twice a week, try to tell people watch the Rockies or pay attention to the Rockies, and we want people to do that. Well, the MLB has gotten a lot of fans the last 2 to 3 years because people can gamble on the MLB in the middle of the summer when nothing else is going on. Mm-hmm. And so you have more eyes on the game because people are gambling on it. Is that the right, cause and effect? Maybe not necessarily, but those of us that have loved baseball and want other people to get into baseball, if my buddy places $5 on the Rockies, then he's all of a sudden rooting for the Rockies with me, who has either no money on it or no money on it. So it's a very fine line, and each team in each league has different rules. Like in the NFL, I know you obviously can't have your own. I think you can have your own sports betting account, but you cannot place any bets from the facilities.
Yes.
So they can track your location.
Because there was a Broncos player who got suspended.
100%. And he had his girlfriend betting on fucking Broncos games from I'm like,
it does. And look, I mean, people, like, you can agree with sports gambling or disagree. Like, that's totally fine. That's completely up to you. I'm not sitting here saying sports gambling is right or wrong. My point on all of this is just that, I had seen someone say, that is it hypocritical that Major League Baseball is throwing the book at Clase when, they are sponsored by 50 different sports books. I don't think it is, just because, again, this isn't a surprise. Everyone else is doing it the right way, or at least theoretically doing it the right way. All the other players aren't gambling. They're not betting on their games or betting on baseball or anything like that, right? Like Major League Baseball, and just as a quick insider, when I'm in the clubhouse for the Rockies, there's signs all over the wall, all over the clubhouse that in like big bold letters that say you cannot gamble on anyone. Anyone associated with the organization cannot gamble. Now, it's interesting because you and I can gamble on sports. I'm in the clubhouse, which it feels wild to me.
I asked you that the first day I sat in the press box. I was like on my DraftKings app and my Bet365 app, and I was like looking around to make sure anybody. I was like, is anybody watching?
I actually had someone tell me that I had another. There was another media member who like was concerned at first when you were there, because I think you had posted something about like one of the bets you had placed, and they were like, hey, like. Is Spencer like okay to be, like betting from here? And we like looked up all of the rules. I mean, there's no rules about media betting unless you are associated with a specific organization. There's no rules about whether or not, you or I or some writer for a newspaper, like it doesn't matter. Now, each organization has certain rules. So I think if you're a member of, the BBWAA, they have specific rules. Just as to be a member of the BBWAA, you can't be gambling on baseball, but it's dependent on the organization. DNVR obviously is, partners with lots of sports betting, platforms over the years and stuff like that. So it's just fascinating to see all of that. But again, my point isn't whether or not betting is good or bad for the sport. It's more along the lines of this shouldn't have been a surprise. Emmanuel Clase knows, or whoever knows, they're not supposed to be betting on, baseball, let alone their own games. So it should not be a surprise that they get punished for that. That's just kind of my take on it. But interesting stuff. And I do think it's going to continue to happen. It's unfortunate, but it's going to continue to happen just because I think people try to get around the system, right? Like people have been doing that forever. So, yeah, fascinating stuff. Real quick, want to shift gears before we finish up the show. We got about 45 seconds until we hit into overtime. So if you are watching on TV, at home, watching on TV, head over to thednvr.com to continue our conversations here. In about 30 seconds, we'll be heading over to thednvr.com to continue the conversation. But there's a couple other things I wanted to bring up. First of all, Major League Baseball, I don't know if you saw this, looking to break the attendance record at the Bristol Motor Speedway in Tennessee. I took a picture, or I didn't take this picture, but I sent Dion a picture of this. Dion, if you want to throw that picture up there, that's what the baseball stadium looks like. There's supposed to be about 85,000 fans there. I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of jealous. That looks pretty electric.
Dude, I saw people hating on this on Twitter.
No, I'm
somebody was like,
stoked.
it sounds like all these places these are going to be bad seats. The fact that sports have started to play, I've been to an outdoor classic at Air Force's football stadium and watched the Avalanche play. I've been to an outdoor classic at Coors Field and watched a hockey game at Coors Field. This stuff is awesome. Like the fact that they're putting a baseball stadium in the middle of this, like, this is great for professional sports to start doing stuff like this. And even some teams are playing preseason games across the world and getting different fan bases into it. This is just more eyes on the game. Like, how many people do you think have been to Bristol Motor Speedway and go every year and wear their butt cracks hanging out and they've got like a vest on that's halfway up their body and they've never heard of the MLB, but now they're like, oh, this is a place that I go and I frequent. It's just more eyes. It's just more pub, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
Downplaying that and complaining about the seats and how the view is from the seats.
It's just an experience. It's an experience. I mean, we saw what Major League Baseball looked like at Mile High Stadium. I would bet that if you are sitting up at the very top of Mile High Stadium watching a Rockies game back in 1994 or whatever year it was, you probably couldn't see what was going on, but it was an experience. You got to say, hey, I was at Mile High Stadium to watch the Rockies play in front of 70,000 other fans. Like, that's electric. So I'm excited to see that. Braves and Reds, although I don't really love that matchup. I'm excited to see
When is that game? Is that pretty soon? Like this week?
It's a great question. I actually don't know. I'd have to look that up, like what the actual date is. I know it's coming up pretty soon. But the other thing I wanted to bring up real quick before we finish, World Baseball Classic. Major League Baseball right now there's been some reports that Major League Baseball is looking to move the World Baseball Classic into the All-Star break in July. That's an interesting one, because obviously you saw what happened with the Four Nations. Four Nations was a huge success for hockey, and you played basically a tournament in the middle of the season that was electric. No one had any problems with that. Do you think the WBC moving into the All-Star break for that week, maybe they extend the All-Star break, maybe a week and a half, something like that, do you think that's a good formula for Major League Baseball? I
think it'd be fun. I think it would take less away from the season, because just like you said, the Four Nations, everybody's like on this break, and when you're into a season and your team's either fun or you're just really obsessed, and then you get that 4-day All-Star break, you're like, even me, a Rockies fan who's dejected after almost every game, I was like, dude, I miss the Rockies. Like, they've been off for 4 days. So the fact that they would kind of parlay that, gambling term, into a World Baseball Classic where you're getting to see some of your favorite players or just great competition in general in that same break, I think makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that'd be fun. I think so too. And I mean, there's always that conversation of, what if the players get hurt? It's the middle of the season. But I mean, we saw it happen with Edwin Diaz before the season started, when, the WBC was played before the season got underway. I think it's a great way to, just capture the attention and the eyeballs of fans. There's no other competition for other sports. And just to funnel that right into that All-Star break.
Yeah, and that's a good point. Literally, the MLB All-Star break that week is the most dead week in sports in the entire world, American world.
Yeah.
Every single year. So you get something that has some national, competition and players from all over the world into that week of sports. You can just, because that is like the end of the sports year, essentially. And then it starts up with the rest of baseball, and then you get into football, hockey, basketball. And I'm talking America here and the major four. Obviously, you have the WNBA that plays during the All-Star break and stuff like that too. But as far as the major four men's sports, that is the most dead week of the year. And you could put an electric baseball competition with fans from all over the world and eyeballs from all over the world onto that competition.
I will play devil's advocate, and I agree with Left Foot there. It says it's a logical nightmare or logistical nightmare wrapped in a marketing dream. 100%. If you're playing devil's advocate, what about the games that are being played in Mexico? What about the games that are being played in Tokyo, as you say? Like, what does that situation look like? Does it take away from the WBC? And also, the WBC, to me, expands the baseball season, right? Like, Major League Baseball already has one of the best all-star formats in all of sports. They do have the best all-star format in all of sports. Everyone watches the All-Star Game, which they improved upon this year with the swing-off. Everyone watches the home run derby. It doesn't necessarily go away. There's just a couple days off after that that's just kind of dead until baseball picks back up again. So why not keep the games before that, extend the season like they always have, where you get some baseball earlier than you normally would. You get to watch your favorite players, in a really unique setting, and then you go into the baseball season. So I can see both sides, but I'm a huge WBC guy. It's kind of my favorite time of the year. So I could see both. I need to learn more about like how they plan to format that, but I like the idea of kind of packaging it in that way.
Yeah, and just bringing mid-July to life internationally
in a tournament format.
World.
Yeah, 100%. So we're gonna wrap things up here. We're running a little late on time. We will be live on Thursday, by the way. So Thursday we're going live at 3:20 p.m. officially Mountain Time. The trade deadline officially wraps up at 4 p.m. At 4 p.m. Mountain Time. So there will be trades trickling in pretty much all that final hour between 3 and 4 p.m. And then even a little bit after that when we start hearing news, of the trades that came in at the last second. So it's going to be a good time. Thursday, 3:20 p.m. We will be live on the DNVR Rockies podcast. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us in the chat. As always, drop us a like, hit subscribe to DNVR Rockies. Shout out to Dion for pressing the buttons, making us look good. We'll see you guys on Thursday. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast presented by Bet365.
We all silly like the mayor.